Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 9 of What If Naruto Became the Greatest Puppeteer. Remember to get this one to 200 likes as usual, share this out with your friends on your social media platform. And also, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was Trained by all the greats on this channel and enjoy that guys. And also, over on Anime King 2, I post a brand new episode of What If Naruto Unlocked a strange power, so go ahead and check out that and enjoy. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all for helping and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new, I'll be planning talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last part we left off, as Naruto was currently on a mission, as they were supposed to get the son of the Lightning Daimyo in interrogation for the ongoing war. As Naruto and his group made their way, the envoys cutting off everyone, as Naruto was able to walk in freely. Getting in there, Naruto noticed something was wrong. The boy, he was breathing too calmly, as his breathing was timed and ready, and set perfectly. The boy then suddenly exploded and threw Naruto back violently. He was able to survive, but he got banged up pretty bad. As he got to his feet, as someone came out there, a hunchback figure. The man introduced himself as Sasori. Naruto was shocked. Well, the real Sasori must be hiding that puppet, as Naruto attacked the puppet Rainier. As they were able to destroy the puppet and showing the real Sasori. As Naruto couldn't believe it. What has he done to himself? As Sasori turned his entire body into a puppet. As Naruto was shocked to see him like this. As Sasori was his idol. It was a dream to meet him, but now all that was thrown away. Seeing the man what he has done to his body, he can no longer grow. He can only stay one place. As Naruto called out the rest of the puppets to deal with him, but the match over in 2 minutes. Naruto was no match for Sasori and showed how weak he was. The poison Sasori injected in him. Even with his fast healing ability, things were shutting down his organs. As Naruto made his way back to Konoha as quickly as possible. As he arrived and started to make something as Hanabi was watching and wondering what he was doing. As he was shaking, his heart was beating. As it was slowing down as Hanabi watched him. He wanted to reach for the ladle but he collapsed to the ground. Hanabi then felt the cool air as he left the door open. While he had came inside, he was in such a rush. As she made a decision right there and then. Naruto woke up as he was fine. He wondered how did he not die. As he realized that he was given the antidote. As he looked over, it was Hanabi. She had the chance to escape but she did not. She herself did not know why. Perhaps it's because he noticed her. Unlike everyone in the clan, it puzzled her as she couldn't understand why. But he told Naruto that he's back on his feet, he wouldn't allow her to leave. But she didn't seem to mind that as she just went back. As she was curious, she wanted to know who did this to him. As he told her it was Sasori. As she pointed towards a picture on the wall as Naruto ripped it off. And threw it away. Within that time skip as Naruto was looking at Neji's body. He didn't know why he kept Neji along for so long. The seal that Neji was in, it kept him alive. Neji had rightly tried to kill Hinata, and the Hyuga members didn't like him for that. It was only because he was out in the public while they didn't try to kill him right there and then. But Naruto has been adding chocolate to the seal to keep Neji's body purified inside, and Neji has even grown inside the seal. But he was still alive, as he was planning on removing Neji's eyes and taking them. As for a puppet user, Abiyaka would be wonderful. But Hanabi told him if he crossed his line, this will what be to separate him from the others. This is the moment of his life that is going to change him forever. As she walked off, he stopped himself as he sealed back away in his body. Within a time skip, as Naruto was on a mission with Hinata and Sasuke, as they were chasing after a rogue puppeteer in the hidden sand, as they made their way to a destroyed castle, as Naruto saw a 3-pronged kunai that was keeping the seal activated, as the man let it off, as a bright white light and all of them vanished. As Naruto arrived to a strange place, it was a castle but it was in perfect condition. As he arrived, he met Minato Namikaze. Naruto was sent back in the past, as the man was sent 3 years before them, as he has gotten a reputation and name here. The girl here, her name is Sarah. As a man, when he came up, her mother just died after a while, and he was her only guardian now. She was the one in control of the power source that was here, as she was able to shut it down and use it. As Naruto understand why the man would come back here to use his power, as he met the 4th Hokage when he was young. Minato was also suspicious of Naruto, well, because he looked so much like Kushina. As Hinata also came back, as Sarah went to go and shut off the power source and free the slaves that were down there. But when they got there, the man was there, as he was able to create hundreds, probably thousands of puppets. Even when you destroyed them, they just kept on coming back. As Minato appeared and hit him with a Rasengan, but his body simply regenerated in a matter of seconds. He told him that down here with this kind of power, he was immortal. So yeah guys, so it's basically that's where we left off. You guys can switch across the page and check it out for yourself. So, let's begin this new episode. You fool! You don't understand, he says. He got off the ground. Down here, I am immortal. Hinata ran over to Sarah. You said that you could turn off the Raimaku. The princess nodded, still shot by her longtime advisor, recovering from a killing wound. Then we need to do that now, said Hinata. He's using the power to heal himself. Sarah nodded, but what about my people? They will take care of them, said Hinata, as Shibe and Choza were leading off the civilians. As Sarah nodded and picked up her pace, that left Minato and Naruto face off against Mugen, who had healed himself. As he moved forward to chase after the princess, Minato flashed right in front of him with another Rasengan. He was sent sailing back for a second time, but yet again he still got up perfectly fine. Any experience with enemies you can't kill, asked Minato, as he appeared beside Naruto. No, but I do have some with puppeteers obsessed with immortality. I suppose that will have to do. How did you put that one down, asked Minato. Well, I didn't, said Naruto. Well, said Minato with a smile. I suppose there's a first time for everything. Mugen exploded out with power, its body shifting and changing. As the two of them watched as he turned himself into a monster, some huge bug-eye, mutant thing that was dripping with poisons. Meanwhile, Sarah and Hinata found the source of the Raimaku. Because of their clan and the way it was passed down, her mother had told her stories about it every night, as she could put that power inside her body. But that energy would destroy her body. It would burn out her insides. But she had shinobis. She had people that she could trust. This was her part. This was what she had to do. Suddenly, something smashed into the wall. As the both of them turned, Haim-sama, if you could hurry up and close off the Raimaku, said Minato as he got up. His tone was lightly joking, but there was a serious look in his eye. I don't understand. I should have closed off his immediate connection. She glanced down towards the floor. It was definitely closed off. Unless he's tapping into the source. Her mother had only taken her down there once before. Well, if you could, Minato was cut off as something burst into the room. But as soon as he came in there, Arukun came in front of him as she opened herself up and released dozens of kunais that stabbed right into him. As he was pushed back by the force as she fired off the sticky substance that pulled him back. As she let off webs and pulled him straight back to the wall. As Naruto jumped off as Minato flashed away once again. Let's go, said Sarah, as she and Hinata run downstairs. Are they going to be okay, asked Sarah. Don't worry, Naruto-kun is not one to go down so easily, said Hinata. Sarah nodded as they made their way as fast as possible. But Hinata was worried as she glanced over her shoulder just a bit. Meanwhile, fighting Mugen was not, well, hard. In this form, the guy was clearly awkward. He was not used to these strange limbs all over his body, to whatever he turned himself into. But the fight was getting rather troublesome because he just would not die. As Reina came in front of him and fired off a blast of sand. The reserves were getting low, so he couldn't afford to use as a cutting tool anymore. As he spread a wall of sand to blind his path, as Minato came from the sky with a Rasengan. Mugen roared, as anytime any of his hands touched the surface, Arukun would stick them to the ground. It never held him for long because he would simply rip out the ceiling or the floor. As Arukun stick his entire hand down to the floor, you pest, as he ripped his arm off, as he regenerated seconds later. You nuisance, he says, he smashed everything around. As Naruto was forced to move out of the way of a chunk of stone, but he was blindsided by one of Mugen. Faction-made puppets, as Minato was there though to destroy it with the Rasengan. This isn't working, said Minato. He was right, despite their best effort, Mugen was just simply going forward no matter what. At the civilian pace that Sarah was going, if they wavered for just a second, he would just blast right past them. And Hinata could not fear against his thing. I need a distraction, said Naruto, as he grimaced at the stupid thing he was about to do. Minato nodded without even question as he pulled 3 of his kunais. He threw them and went through Hansa as they multiplied as they all stabbed into Mugen. The moment Mugen threw his head back, Naruto lashed on with every single chakra string that he could conjure. Naruto's arm tensed as he felt the backlash. There was again the immense pressure of the Rayamaku fighting against his technique, as the bright blue lines of his string started to shift as they started to turn purple, coming back down towards him. "You fool," said Mugen. "You think you can overpower me? I have the power of a dragon coursing through my veins." As Naruto said nothing as he was digging deep inside himself, looking for that spark. "Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on," he said, as he kept on forcing doubt until his fangs started to extend outwards. Even his eyes started to change as a red, twisted chakra started to leak from his body, more for orange color as they forced down his threads, completely pushing away all the purple substance. Kill, destroy, rampage. Naruto felt the power coursing through his body, that burning sensation. His mind wanted to let loose. He wanted to pass over to this power. Whatever it was just so enticing. It was too much fighting off the Rayamaku and the Kyuubi, threatening to tear him into two. As he had to pull back, he couldn't give in now, as he detached his chakra strings, pulling back the Kyuubi's power inside himself. But still, Mugen was shocked that power that this boy just used could rival the Rayamaku because it overpowered it. Even Minato was stunned. That was... We don't need to talk about what that was, said Naruto. He hadn't even thought what revealing his Jinchuriki status would do to the timeline. As Minato looked at Naruto's eyes, before he looked at his whisker marks, as he then turned back to the opponent. "I didn't give you enough credit. To have such power to overrun the Rayamaku. I will have to take you more seriously." Every puppet from around the room jerked to life. Instead of attacking Minato and Naruto, they break apart as they flew towards Mugen, as they melt into his body as the Mugen body started to grow and grow and grow. "Witness my ultimate form and see how truly outclassed you are." Mugen started to grow even more till he broke through the ceiling of the underground. "It seems I lost the princess, but it doesn't matter now. I know how to draw her out," as he looked towards city center, where Shibi and Choza had evacuated the civilians. Minato and Naruto just stared up in the sky at a large construct that Mugen had become. "You got anything to take on something that big?" Naruto asked. "The boss summoned of the toads, maybe. But I don't think I have enough chakra left to summon him. You? Maybe, but I never used it before. I don't even know if it will work." "How long do you need?" said Minato. "A minute, I guess. This is only a prototype. He didn't try it before, as he just had it with him because he didn't want to leave it back in his building." "Well then, we'll give you twice that," said Minato. "We?" said Naruto, as Minato pointed as Choza stepped on the battlefield. He was as large as Mugen as he crashed into him. As Minato vanished, Mugen cried out as he was barraged with flashes all around him. Naruto pulled out a small scroll from his jacket pocket. A pulse of chakra expanded into a huge scroll, as tall, even as taller than he was. "God, I hope I'm smart as I think I am, and you actually work," he thought to himself. Meanwhile, as Hinata and Sarah was going down, "It's Mugen. He's become something big," said Hinata. She didn't stop, as the entire city started to shake, as she didn't smile. "What is it?" Sarah said, as Hinata turned towards the other side of the city. "It's Naruto," she said. Meanwhile, Shibi and Choza, they were looking up. Not even Choza was able to bring that thing down. Whatever it was tough. And it was hard to bring down. As Mugen descended upon them, but suddenly something wrapped around his throat and pulled him. Whatever came to the rescue picked Mugen up and smashed him into the ground. The entire city shook from the impact, and the two Konoha shinobi were thrown off their feet. Shibi didn't bother to get up, he just stared at the newcomer in awe. It was another puppet, he could see that. But this was far from Mugen, bulky, over-rapid design. It seemed to be created from a woman design, as she had 4 arms, as she had a crowing thing on her head. Her hair was wild and stretched out, with beads all over her arms, as she had on a beaded skirt. Looking closer, her hair was steel cables, as he has never seen a puppet so large before. He didn't even know that something that large could be animated, as he wondered if that blonde kid had somehow tapped into Rayamaku himself. He was shocked from his gaze when Minato appeared in front of him. "Keep getting civilians to safety, we got this." As the puppet brought 2 of his hands down and drive Mugen into the ground deeper. Meanwhile, Naruto had a big smile on his face as he watched his new puppet, Azora, move. As his army killer was actually working, his chakra threads were orange. As the Kyuubi voiced a whisper in his ear, but he could focus calmly now because he wouldn't have to worry about the power of the Rayamaku and Muken's will. He was doing something to his knowledge that no puppeteer has ever managed before. Azura has been a work of years now, ever since that first fight with Gaara, as she was the one that he placed those wires in so he could move her titanic form, and it was working like a dream. Muken tried to pull himself up, but one of Azura's arms opened up as thousands upon thousands of kunais rained down in his face. Muken fell down as kunais rained and ripped into his body, as Naruto noticed something inside his chest. It quickly healed over though, as the two titans clashed once again, as he was on one of the highest balconies that he could find, as he was watching and using his puppet to crush Muken down to the ground, as Muken thrust forward his body crashing into a tower. But Azura catched his arm, as her second hand came up and smashed right under his chin, nearly knocking his head completely off. The other slammed forward right into his midsection, as a huge compartment opened up. This steel capsule was stuffed with enough detonations that kept Naruto clones busy for at least a week. So the explosion did not disappoint. Even Azura was pushed back from the explosion as it teared through the city. A massive hole was in Muken as he saw that Azura was pushed back by her own explosion, so he decided to use the opportunity and lunge forward, his body all broken up but he was healing, as he smashed shoulder first right into her, tackling her to the ground, as Muken grabbed one of her arms and ripped it out of the socket. But Azura's other fist came up and smashed him in the face, knocking him off of her. As she moved back a few steps, her three arms raised, as Naruto took in a deep breath, before Azura brought up two hands and went through hand sign, as she raised her hand to her mouth, as everyone felt the chakra being molded, as she took in a deep breath. But suddenly, something poofed in her chest, as she leaned over to the right side. Naruto cursed where he was in the tower. He supposed it was too much to ask that would work first time, but he had to give it a try. His fire jutsu did not work. He would still have to work on it, as he wondered how the girls were doing. Meanwhile, damn it, said Sarah, as she slammed her hand in the stone that stood between them and the source of the Rayamaku. Why not the entrance that sealed right as she made her way towards it? Her mother never told her anything about the key, so what was going on? Hinata then noticed something as she could activate her Byakugan down here, because the power of the Rayamaku would literally burn her eyes out. As she pulled the sword on Sarah's hip, as she stabbed it right into the slot and channeled her chakra, but it did not budge. Sarah placed her hand on it and suddenly, chakra came out of her hand and flew down through the blade, as the wall started to shake and open up, revealing the cavern behind it. Yes, come on, she said. Just a little longer, Naruto-kun, thought Hinata. Meanwhile, Naruto cursed. He shouldn't have tried that stunt to the jutsu yet. It wasn't ready, obviously, because he was getting exhausted no matter what happened. No matter how many times he beat Muken in the ground, he would just get back up no matter what. Azura was missing another arm now, and she had numerous gashes and cuts along her body. She was doing a good job for a prototype that he never expected to see real combat from, but still she was getting a lot of damage now. Minato flashed beside him. He was doing the best that he could, stopping and interfering with blows that would destroy Naruto puppet. But it was getting exhausted for him. We're running out of time, he said. Yes, he was right. Azura wouldn't last another few minutes, and Naruto couldn't go on for much longer. With a body like that, it wouldn't take long for Muken to just dig his way down to the Rayamaku source, and if he touched that, they were done for. Muken smirked as he smashed his fist into one of the craters. As it deepened, he smashed his fist once again, breaking it. Damn it, said Minato. What you attempted earlier with the jutsu, what went wrong? Naruto was caught off guard by the question, as he was busy moving Azura forward to stop Muken. It was too much. I could not concentrate on forming the jutsu while keeping Azura stable. The chakra pathways aren't developed enough. If Minato was surprised that Naruto was able to give a puppet chakra system, he didn't show it. He just seemed to be thinking deeply. If someone else were to form the jutsu then, asked Minato, maybe. But it will have to be with someone whose chakra is highly compatible. As Minato gave Naruto a passionate look, I think we both know that won't be a problem, will it? Naruto said nothing for a while, until he held out his hand. Minato nodded and placed a hand on Naruto's hand as chakra started to swirl. Defeat Muken now. Figure out how to get you back your own time later, right? As Naruto barely heard him, as he was just working on controlling the chakra, it was warm. Azura took a step back, as she held out her hand as chakra came to life in her palm. It was blinding and large. The noise, loud. The technique grew until it resembled a miniature sun, pulsing. As Naruto could feel Minato's years of experience in jutsu flow through him. As Naruto took a step forward, as Azura copied him perfectly. As a titanic Rasengan hell as Minato let go, swirling violently. As Azura stepped in and struck Muken in the back, nearly obliterated every single ounce of him. As she pushed on, digging right into him, tearing right into his body. As Naruto could feel the chakra wires in Azura's arms go out, burning because of the energy. But even then he didn't stop, he did not relent. As the Rasengan exploded outwards, everyone had to close their eyes as the thing blinded the city. Until everything returned back to normal. When everyone could see Azura's arm that she used to use her Rasengan was wrecked. As Azura then fell to the side, mimicking her creator. As Naruto panted on his knees, looking at the damage that one technique had caused. Even Minato was shocked as hell. Before he collected himself, well, that will do it, he said. As he moved over to help Naruto. No, said Naruto. I felt it at the end, he's still connected to the Rayamako. It's not over yet. Minato's face felt, but then he took a deep breath and his face returned back normal. It was incredible that he has such control over his emotions. Yes, indeed. This man will be the Hokage one day, Naruto could see it. As Naruto felt burned out, after using Kyuubi's power, he felt even worse. Meanwhile, Hinata was in front of Sarah, who was currently working on the eye. As she was breaking through, she was singing something like a lullaby, her song. As Hinata was ready, her Byakugan activated as the Mugen was currently in a smaller form. As his body outside had been destroyed, and he went through in this smaller form to get to them quick as possible. Suddenly, two figures descended from the sky as they landed. You're real like a cockroach, aren't you, Mugen? Said Naruto. Mugen growled, but he continued his charge forward. He was so close to his goal, he couldn't stop now. But at that moment, Hinata heard something click as a carved eye behind her closed. Mugen screamed in anger as his body started to disintegrate around him, until the pale, chubby, fat form of Honor Kosen came out, glaring at Sarah murderously. You stupid, idiotic princess! What have you done? I could have ruled this world. All of it could have been mine, he said. Hinata wasn't sure what came over at that moment. Perhaps it was the stress of everything that happened so far. Or the way Mugen was looking at Sarah. Whatever it was, it caused her to move forward as she struck Mugen across the face with her foot. It was quite possibly the most unlikely Hyuga thing she has ever done, and it felt incredible. His head was snapped to the side, his body was sent sailing. It seems that the bridge was more unstable than they thought as he braked through it and fell down. Into the purple energy, the Rayamako. Hinata presumed that was not something for someone to just touch like that. The place started to shake violently as the thing turned red. As it was Mugen, rage and anger. I don't understand. I should have cut off the source, said Sarah. You cut off the primary access point, but not the source itself, said Minato. It will have to be sealed completely. But, as she stuttered, without the Rayamako, this city would cease to be one. But if she left it on, she was going to risk the life of all her citizens. Do it, she said. Minato dashed forward as he pulled a 3-pronged kunai, as he stabbed it right down and went through hand sign. It was a kunai that he gave Naruto. Naruto didn't even notice that he took it back, as he pushed the 3-pronged kunai down into the eye, like it was mud and not solid stone. As a kanji spread out around the entire weapon, and then nothing, the quaking stopped, the energy stopped, everything just went silent. The room now looked identical to how the Konoha team found it in the future. Naruto was about to say something before he looked down to notice his hands was glowing in white light, and so was Hinata. What's going on, said Sarah. No need to panic. We're just going home, said Naruto. As she looked at them. Are you angels? Naruto couldn't help it. The moment she said, he burst out laughing. It was strange, as he told himself that it was exhaustion. As Minato smiled at Naruto, I suspected something like this would happen once we see the Rayamako. Know that we set everything back on course. You should be pulled to your own time. As he looked down, a bit uncertain. This may be the last chance we get to talk. Is there anything you want to say? Something squirmed into Naruto's stomach when he heard that. As he looked at the genuine look from his father, yes, he knew. Nah, not to this you, said Naruto. Minato nodded as he understood. As he pulled out a small scroll, then there's only one thing left to do. Is wiping our memories really necessary, said Naruto. He knew it was standard events for these kind of procedures, which told him enough that they were rare, but not, well, never done before. It's for all our safety. Knowledge of time travel is dangerous for everybody, said Minato. For you, maybe, said Naruto as he moved a hand behind his back. Knowledge of the future may be implied as well, but knowledge of a resolved past that already happened, what can we do with that? Minato smiled sadly. I'm sorry, Naruto, but I have to, he said. As he tried to bring his hands together, but Naruto raised his hand. No, wait. I have to destroy my puppets. I can't let them be found and re-engineered by anyone. Minato nodded. as Naruto pulled out a scroll that allowed him to remotely detonate his puppets, as he had a smaller one that it was sketching behind his back, as he activated, as a seal and a ray went up his back and went to the back of his head, as Minato flipped through hand signs quickly, as another ring of Fuinjutsu surrounded every single one of them. The last thing Naruto saw was his civilians that were on the other side of the cavern. They were saying something but he couldn't really hear it, but he could see their energy. They were cheering, thanking them. It was a new experience, being recognized, being appreciated, as the glow became blinding as he was thrown forward in time. Time skip. So, you remember nothing? Sarutobi asked. As Naruto and Hinata shook their heads, including Sasuke. No. Hokage-sama said Hinata, I am not sure there's anything to remember. As Sarutobi looked towards Naruto for confirmation, as Naruto chose his words very carefully. I have to agree, Muken was messing with the Fuinjutsu that was contained in that we expect to be the Ryamaku. Then there was some kind of explosions. Both of us, me and Hinata, or feel like we're forgetting something. He had made sure to ask her experience of the whole event to get his story straight, but I suspect that was just some backlash from Space-Time Fuinjutsu. From what Sasuke saw, the white light engulfed them, and then after he disappeared, the two of them were lying there unconscious and Muken was gone. Well, that was time travel for you. They arrived at the same time when they vanished, but Minato might have wiped Hinata's memory of the event. He wiped their memories using the Fuinjutsu of what he did. But Naruto had placed a seal on him. He remembered every single thing that happened. Sarutobi checked the file in front of him as he nodded. There was no further sighting of Muken, so I suspect that he was most likely destroyed by what he did. If there's nothing further, then I believe that we can call this mission a success, he said, as he gave a wave of hand for them to go. Oh, Hinata, I'd like you to stay for a moment. As he saw a panicked look on her face, but he gave her a small smile. No need to panic, my dear. I just want to have a chat with you about your recent performance. As Naruto looked back with a smirk, he remembered his own performance review a few days before receiving rank of Jonin. Good for her. She might not remember all that she did, but she deserved this much. As Naruto turned his eyes towards the portrait of Minato before walking out, as there was a smile in his face. As Naruto came only through his Jakunin's workbench with a smile in his face same way. He met his father, the Hokage. He didn't know why, but he was in a good mood. Damn, if I don't have a store for you, he said, as he passed Hanabi, reading on her bed. She gave off a grunt, as he simply smirked. Come on, it has time travel and everything. She looked up from her book, glaring at him, and then returned back to her reading, as he glanced to where Neji's body was, as she was there, still angry at him. He wished it would just disappear. Nope, still there. As he thought about what she said, and Hanbi was right. If he went through it and stole Neji's eyes, that would be one step too far down a dark path. What was a material advantage against the cause of his humanity? He had seen it twice now, Sasori, Muken, people just like him on the same path, willing to throw away what made them human for the favor of power. Did he want that to be him? The sight of all those people calling out to him in Ran, cheering, thanking him. If he were a monster, they wouldn't behave that way, would they? They would call him demon, monster and all that. What if I said you could leave? Despite trying to ignore him, the question knocked her to the side. What? That's it. You would just let me go. Of course not, said Naruto. She would go and just expose him and mess up everything. Her face instantly fell. But he had another plan in mind. I've recently been reminded that there are certain Fuinjutsu that can remove memories. If you want, I could apply one to you and release both you and Neji. It wasn't the perfect situation. If someone caught onto what he did, a good seal master could just bring the memories back. It was why he hadn't considered it before. Just like that, she asked. Just like that. All you would lose is time. As her eyebrow furrowed at the moment, she would lose everything that she learned over the time that she's been with him. And you would release Neji too. Yes, I should be able to work something out. I know, it's asking a lot to trust me, but no, she said. If I trust you to do anything, at least I can know that you'll be honest with me. The entire time she was here, she didn't think that he told her a single lie. He kept things on her, and say certain things, but he never straight out lied to her, never. As she brought her hands together, thinking about what he just told her. He knew that decision was a tough one, but he never thought that he would think about it so hard. I should point out, whatever you choose, I will be releasing Neji, so I won't make this offer twice. Pretend to sneak the both of them out of Kumo once. Doable. Doing it with Neji, and then trying it with Hanabi again at a later date. That would raise too much questions. As Naruto walked over to his desk, waiting for her to come with something. As she then spoke before he could completely sit down. I think I want to stay. Naruto was about to comment to ask her if she wanted to stay, and if she's serious. But she answered before he could say anything. I've thought about it, and for everything I've lost, being your captive, there's also things I've gained, a lot. Things I never would have learned with my family. You know, it's weird, she said. I'm in captivity, a prisoner, and yet, I never felt this free. Free from responsibility. Free from decision that would have torn me and my sister apart. Free from all the damn politics. Her eyes hardened as she blinked back tears. Make no mistake, I will get back to my family one day. But I won't lose a year of my life to do it, no matter what. As she glanced towards where Neji's school was. Besides, even if I said I trust you, this is the only way I can make sure you follow through on your promise, right? But you understand perfectly what I'm giving up here. So, I want to make a deal. She was exactly in a bargaining position, but he figured he could, well, hear her out. As he nodded, I'll stay. And in the future, when I get out of here, I won't tell people what you did. In exchange, I want you to train me, she said. You want me to do what? You heard me, she said. I want to learn what makes you so strong. So teach me. Teach me how to be a puppeteer. Naruto blinked. He never really thought about teaching anyone as puppeteer. But, to teach a Hyuga captive, the person that he had kidnapped, so she wouldn't tell anyone what's going on. That sounded rather crazy saying out loud, didn't it? Hell, he wasn't even sure that he was far along in his art to teach it to someone else. Still, he could understand what she was giving up. And he made a promise to himself that he would try and start to do better. And she had asked for it. It won't be easy on you. As if I would expect anything less, she said. Alright, but you have to call me Naruto-sensei. Never! We'll work on that, said Naruto. Alright, from now. Learning from doing. As she looked at him. We're going to plan an escape from Kumo, he said. Time skip. It worked. The plan with Neji actually worked. He managed to weasel a routine squad out of a Dex jockey that owed him a favor. He never did these things in person, or even gave them any acknowledgement that it was him that they owe a favor to. From there, it was a simple matter to leave Neji's unconscious body along their path. He was brought back to the village the moment he was found and brought to the hospital. When asked, he couldn't tell anyone what happened. He was unconscious, bound in a scroll for the past year. As Naruto heard that Jiraiya was brought in to check for her memory seal, which made him happy that Hanabi rejected his offer. They might have checked her memory as well, just to be sure. From what he got together, as they decided that this was a strategic move from Kumo, a peace offering that Kumo was giving them in the final days of war. That was good. If they brought it up at the table, Kumo would deny it, and they will also deny that they have Hanabi as well. The fact that Neji's body was left and not delivered would give the village a different idea of what happened, but it will leave tensions behind, because after all Neji had the cage bird seal, while Hanabi didn't. So the Hokage will think that the Kumo seal master just stopped trying to break the cage bird seal, and just focus on Hanabi, who didn't have it. Even then, if he was going to bring Hanabi back into the village, Naruto was starting to come up with a good plan, because he couldn't do this twice. But in a move that surprised almost everyone, the Sand had turned around and betrayed them once again. On a joint mission between the two villages, the team that the Sand said had turned on the Konoha squad, slaughtering them in their sleep. In the same night, the Sand ninjas descended upon a number of Konoha ninjas. It wasn't a crippling blow, but it was a hell of a way to declare war. A few people thought that it was a way to entice Kumo back in the fight, so they could gang up on Konoha. Perhaps if they had a Stone Duff join as well, slicing up Konoha right in the center. But the Raikage was no fool. He knew when to cut his losses, and the declaration of ceasefire had come the next day. As Naruto knew that the Raikage was just sitting back, as he wanted to see what and how this was going to play out between the Sand and Konoha. So the attack from the Sand made no sense, as every fireboat country on the sea just got sink. If no one was expecting the Sand betrayal, then this sudden attack from Kiri was out of the blues. As far as everyone knew, they were still in a civil war. So the sudden turn of them attacking Konoha was unthinkable. As Naruto was trying to piece it all together, steering up at the board at once had his plan to how to start a war. Now it contained detailed maps and operations going back at least a month before the Sand betrayal. The attempts that were taken on him were more personal because he knew their Sand, well, their art. But he couldn't understand anything else. Why? Why did they betray them? Why did they attack? The Sand was on the road to recovery. Konoha was helping them a lot. As Naruto found out that Gar was elected to be the Kazekage, it seems that the Sand was weak on manpower, But all of this was irrelevant now. About 3 weeks ago, Gar went missing about some large-scale attack on the night. Curiously enough, no damage was caused to the village when that attack happened, and it would take some twisted knowledge to pin that on Konoha, because they weren't behind it. Where did Gar go? Who kidnapped him? And why wasn't there any major damage to the village from the kidnappers? And that still didn't explain what the hell was going on with Kiri, as Naruto knew nothing about that village. The Civil War, the curtain was tight, their borders were closed, so he couldn't get anything, and it seemed to get even tighter now. Konoha was gearing up. Now they had to fight a war on 2 fronts. For the first time since he started all of this, Naruto regretted it. Things have spiraled too far outside of his thinking way, as he realized that he was playing with things outside of his skill to contain, as he wanted to go on a mission to Kiri, because he wanted to find out what the hell was going on. The 2 missions that he went on were already useless. A scouting mission, and they barely went a mile into the coast. That told him and Konoha nothing at all. Another mission had them investigating some of the boats that Kiri had sunk. Nothing again except what they already had knew. As he turned back to the planning board, he felt like he was missing something that was out of sight. What was it? You know, for a teacher, you've done a lot more steering at a board than actually teaching, you know, Hanabi said, as she tried to latch her chakra strings on the first puppet that Naruto worked on when he was younger. As he didn't answer her, she clenched her fists. Naruto Sensei, she said, as he turned a smile in his face. I already told you, fray the strings at the end. Use that to attach the wood. With a puppet that basic, seals weren't even acquired. You could move the wood manually. What does that even mean, she asked. He shrugged. It was surprising how difficult it was for his art to be described in words. As a kid learning this on his own, he had reached him by, well, accident, replicating how he had felt after using it once. Actually explaining it was very hard. You're spinning the chakra into strings, so simply focus on the tension right at each tip and then release it, he said. She tried again. She had no problem controlling the chakra. It was the mental focusing she was struggling with. One of her fingers twitched and the doll's arm moved forward towards her. Yes, she said. Her enthusiasm had Naruto smiling as she ignored him and started over again. He didn't stop as he looked at the clock. He had something to do. I'm going out, he said. Time skip. Sakura grave was just as holy and polished as the other graves that were here. Was it a grave? He wasn't sure. It was just a shallow box in the ground, holding her ashes. No one was buried in Konoha didn't have the space for a big graveyard like that. Shinobis that died were interned here for about 2 years before their ashes were returned to their families or spread somewhere around the surrounding forest. It was supposed to be symbolic. Even in death, their hearts keep the village safe and secure. As her time was already up, they had already placed her name on the memorial stone in Training Ground 3. And in a few days, a Chunin team will come by, dig up the grave, and return the ashes to her family. Most of them choose to spread the ash, but a few keep it in their urn. But who wanted the constant reminder of a loss like that, he wondered to himself, as someone had left flowers here a few days ago. As he looked down, as he hadn't spoken yet, he finally did. I don't regret it. I don't think. I really don't. I don't like how it turned out, and in hindsight, I should have done things differently. But I'm not really here to make excuses. I just want to say I wish I could have changed things. I wish I should have known things then. That I was strong enough, and you shouldn't have to die at all. I've only spoken to Kakashi Sensei a few times since, calling me over himself. Surprising, right? He told me not to blame myself, and I don't. There's nothing I really could have done, but still. He took in a breath before releasing it. I used to have a crush on you, you know? I'm not sure if you ever even noticed. It faded after a while, probably because of my own apathy. Everything else besides Poppy seemed so, well, pointless back then. I thought you were so useless and I was put on a team with you. Only using you for my manipulation abilities, you know? I was such an asshole back then. Then you started to pick up medical ninjutsu so quickly, and you became interesting again. I really did want to see how far you could go with it. I guess we'll never find out now, huh? It's only been a recent thing, this nostalgic feeling that I've been getting recently. I wonder, how you'd have been right now? How strong you might have become, hell. For all I know, you might have gotten yourself killed somewhere down the line anyway now. A part of me is cursing myself. What's the point of thinking about what if? Sort of right, can't change the past. Huh. I recently been in something like that. As you wink, let's keep this to us, okay? You and me. You know, I can almost understand why Kakashi does this so often. Anyway, I know this is long overdue, and I've been putting it off, but I'm here now. As he looked back up in the sky, The clouds were darkening. I guess I did learn something from Cactus Sensei after all. Anyway, I just want to say sorry. Sorry for what? I'll leave that up to you. There's probably more than I can put into words anyway. As he turned to leave, I nearly walked straight into Ino. Oh, Naruto, I didn't expect anyone else to be here, she said. She seemed a lot different from the fiery, headstrong girl that he knew at the academy. He had sort of lost track of her after the entire preliminary thing. He knew that she hadn't stopped being a ninja, but he had no idea what she has been doing this entire time. They had never even been assigned to a mission together. Huh. He was a horrible person, you know that. He never even bothered to look up her life. Her life that he ruined to make her think that she killed her best friend. Things kept getting in the way, he said to her. I guess I can understand that. You two were on the same team together. It must have been hard. As he noticed the bouquet in her hand. Just came to pay my respect before it was too late. As he started to walk past her. Wait, Naruto, she said. As he turned, uncertain of what to expect. Some of the people from our graduation year were planning a get-together of sorts, a celebration. What with Hinata being made Jonin recently, and Neji coming back. Naruto lip twitched. No one had thrown him a celebration when he became Jonin. The most he got was a sarcastic comment of a celebration from Hanabi, and that could hardly count. Still, being bitter was not his style. I didn't realize you were close to him, Naruto said. He didn't realize Neji was close to anyone. I wasn't, but when Shikamaru and Lee were promoted, his teammate Tenten was placed to our team for the next exam. We stayed in touch and we got pretty friendly. To be honest, I'm going more for her than for him. Plus, Hinata really needs support right now. I think having Neji back has reopened a wound with her sister. So getting her nice and drunk is my way of helping her. Only good intentions, huh? He said. She gave a small grin. So what do you say? After graduation, you pretty much dropped off the map for all of us. I bet a lot of people would like to catch up. He wasn't so sure about that. He could count the friends that he had in the academy on his fingers, and he would still have 2 hands to spare. He was about to decline, but god damn it, his lips worked beyond his control. Sure, he said. Okay, cool. We'll see you at my place then, later tonight. Yeah, he said. Why the hell did he say yes? Time skip. Naruto felt out of place as he thought he would, as he was just by himself watching the people mingle. It seemed like Ino was commandeered our house for the night, as no parents were there. Neji was there, as he was being pampered by his female teammate. His only consolation was that Neji seemed as, well, uncomfortable with all of this as he was. Lee was bouncing from place to place, as he was challenging people to this challenge that he come up with on the spot. But when people refused, he went along with it himself. As Shikamaru was just sitting down, not really paying attention to anything, while Choji was eating beside him. As Ino was flicking from person to person, as she was starting up conversations, Shino had arrived, gave his congratulations to Neji for making it back to the village, and then went off since he had things to do. As Naruto cursed him for that. No, he couldn't make the same excuse and leave like he wanted to right now. And then there was Kiba, so goddamn loud. There was also Akamaru, who was beginning to grow into the fearsome size so many dog ninjas were known for. As Sasuke was scratching him behind the ears. Sasuke's lightened up since his promotion, but he was still a bit antisocial, but not that much anymore. As he was kind of using Akamaru as a shield, so he wouldn't be pulled in any conversation. Which left, naturally. You're doing an impressive job of hiding back here, said Hinata, as she slipped over. I picked it up the moment I got back here, he said as he took a sip from his cup. Just the right amount of shadow so I'm not invisible and people wonder where I am. But not so open so when they spot me it's obvious. Hinata laughed at that, even though it wasn't meant to be a joke, he was serious. It's not a mission, Naruto-kun. You should talk to someone, she said. I'm talking to you, aren't I? He noticed as she glanced away to hide her blush. I think Shikamaru has his eyes on you to get you into a shogi match, she said, pulling herself together really quickly. I'm counting that he's too lazy to come over here and ask, said Naruto. As he had on a small smile himself, he was actually glad that Hinata came over. This was the best out of everyone else here, and people wouldn't try to bother him with her right here. Are you really scared to talk to people that much? She asked, almost making it sound like a challenge. It's not fear. It's just, I have nothing to say. That sounded like an excuse, she said. There was that confident tone again, and that smile of hers. Because it is, said Naruto. But she held his gaze without flinching. When had they gotten so close? As her scent filled his nose. He was around poison too much, he was getting to the depths of everything now. What the hell, was she leaning into him? But that will stop when Ino called out. Alright, you miserable lot, that is enough lingering at the edge of the room. She grinned as Naruto turned away from Hinata and looked. My dad has been telling me all sorts of stories about the drinking game they used to play back in the day, and She pulled out a large, expensive bottle of sake, planning on trying them all tonight. Despite most of them could buy things only 3 Jonin in the room could get the, well, real alcohol before they were 18. And Naruto wouldn't, Hinata didn't, and Shikamaru didn't really care enough to do it. And the rest of them felt that rule breaking thing that you felt when you were a teenager. He was drawn towards the center of the room with everyone else, as Ino had set up chairs in the center. As he snagged the one between Sasuke and Tenten, needed the space from Hinata. It was also a bit away from Shikamaru, who was giving him a strange, calculating look since the night started. Kiba, surprisingly enough, Sasuke and Choji got their fill as well. Tenten also, well, her cheeks got a bit red because of the drinking. But Tenten had her eye on Lee though, even though she was a bit, well, tipsy. Apparently, Lee should not drink at all, but she refused to say why though. Everyone took it as a joke until Neji told them that it was serious. He should not drink at all. Shikamaru seemed to drink a lot, but he never loses his edge. If he was pretending to drink, Naruto couldn't work out how. But Naruto had a small storage seal in his palm, as he was just siphoning the drink away. He was not really drinking to get drunk. It was a waste of good alcohol, but this was a company. He didn't want to lose his mind around to say certain things that wasn't supposed to be said. Hinata was the surprise of them all, taking to everything quite quickly, as all her shyness just snapped away, as she was determined to match Ino drink for drink, until everything went into a friendly banter. So Ino, how is torture and interrogation going at Shikamaru? Oh, you know, daddy's got me doing busy work to make me feel like I'm doing something important. But I'm learning a lot from what I do get to see. Although I could do without that uncle woman trying to twist me in some kind of crazy copy of her. I don't know, said Kiba. The village could do with a few more like uncle. Man, I look forward to the missions I get to go with on her. I didn't know that infiltration experts were supposed to go on dog walking jobs, Sasuke said that smart. Earned a few chuckle from the crowd, as Kiba tried to get a comeback, but Shikamaru spoke. I haven't had the pleasure of working with her myself. You aren't missing much, said Choji. She's loud in personality, attire, and volume, said Tenten. You don't need to sugarcoat it, said Ino. She's a nightmare. Once she's latched onto you, it takes divine invention to get her off. I don't understand why Daddy trusts her with so much, or the Hokage for that matter. What do you mean, Shikamaru? Oh, you get the idea that it's all hush-hush, but she always drops these little hints that she's been sent on these little classified missions to cure it. So, said Sasuke. He seemed nonchalant, but it was obvious that he was as interested as Shikamaru. As Naruto was intrigued as well, he hadn't heard anything about this. Most missions to cure are classified these days, because of the war. But the way she goes on them, it was like she was sent to assassinate the Mizukage, or help the rebels or something. She's just always a bit over the top. Rebels? Choji asked. That's supposed to be classified to non-jonin. Even you're not supposed to know Ino, said Hinata. Let's just say there's a lot I know I shouldn't, said Ino. You mean things you eavesdrop on your dad to know, said Choji. Don't ruin my mystique, Choji, said Ino. Like what, said Sasuke. Perhaps if we're not supposed to know, we shouldn't ask, said Neji. The first full sentence Naruto heard him speak all night. Oh, come off it, Neji, said Tenten. As if you're not dying to know yourself. Hell, a year away from the village. You should be wanting information. Indeed, my youthful companion, said Lee. Would we all not benefit from being more informed? As Guy Sensei said, knowing is half the battle, the other half being fists. Or perhaps some things are made secret for a reason, said Shikamaru. Why don't we ask Naruto then, said Kiba. As a pissed off look came on Naruto's face. He was almost out of everything, and yet, this goddamn dog boy had to call his name. He's the king of secrets, right? Kiba-kun, said Hinata. Weirdo in the academy, then he shows through the ranks, while barely acknowledge any one of us, said Kiba. Would you prefer weekly updates, Naruto said, trying to ignore some of the comebacks that his mind come up with. Well, because they weren't friendly. I prefer that you don't pretend that you're better than us, acting so mysterious and cool, just because you got to join in before us. And what does that say about you, Mutt, said Sasuke, as he gave Naruto a nod and took a sip of his drink. As he gave a nod in return, as he couldn't let his mind linger about any connection with Sasuke. He was not that sort of person to manipulate someone such again, was he? What's that supposed to mean, Pink Eye? If you haven't noticed, we're the same rank. For now, said Sasuke. Troublesome. He's just baiting you, Kiba. As if he know anything more about this war than the rest of us. Man, us Chunin are kept completely in the dark. Come on, Hinata, they must have told you something important. Jonins, get all the juicy info. Sorry, Kiba, said Hinata, the brief argument sobering up a bit. Come on, no big plans, no tactical overviews. The big, mysterious planner behind it all, who is it? If she knew, then she wouldn't be able to tell you. So, quiet down, Inuzaka, said Neji. As Naruto was thinking about what Kiba just said, hidden manipulator, someone in the shadows, behind the scenes. It couldn't be. Someone behind the scenes, someone controlling everything. The sand turned around, Kiri attacking, God damn it, that one thing that he was missing off the goddamn board. But, who was it? You alright, Naruto, said Shikamaru. As Naruto blinked, must be the drink. It's hitting a bit harder than I thought. He could tell that he didn't bite at all. On that note, I should probably head off, he said. What, said Ino? You can't leave yet, the night is still young. He grinned back, hiding his annoyance. We're Shinobi, this is practically morning for us. As he turned and waved a goodbye to everyone as he left. As he felt a hand grab his hand, as he turned. He wasn't sure who was more surprised, him or Hinata. You didn't say goodbye properly, she said. What's so proper? He couldn't get the finish as she kissed him right on the cheek. She turned red, before squeaking something out and went back into the house. Apparently his influence on her ran deeper than he thought. He knew that she was attracted to him, but he never thought that she would have the courage to do anything. Perhaps it was liquor. Time skip. Kiri was a very secretive place. As he was on a mission, scout out some of the perimeters and tried to look for active rival bases as they were trying to make contact with the rebellion force so they could fight off against the main force. If that failed, they would know which faction was attacking Konoha. Well, it couldn't be the rebels, they were too weak. And if the village is still in a civil war, why would the rebels try to attack Konoha? That would just be stupid. But they still need a motive. Why was the main force attacking them? Helping people is a good thing, because when you help someone will turn around and help you back. Because Naruto found out that someone was tracking him, 2 people. When he went into a local shop here, a waitress told him that 2 people were asking for him, for his description. But Naruto was one smart fellow, as the attack happened. But that wasn't real Naruto. As the person reappeared beside the real Naruto. When did you substitute with the puppet? A familiar voice said. Zabuza-sama swore that it was back at the river, but I think it was earlier. Before, the hollow tree. It was back at the village. Before I was leaving the stall, said Naruto as he slipped from behind the tree that he was behind. I should have guessed, the figure said, as he removed their mask. It's good to see you, Naruto. Naruto walked forward, still not quite letting his guard down. You too, Haku, but can I ask, why you've been following me? Speaking of which, where's Zabuza and the other one? Sweeping the ear of the rest of our team. The Mizukage ears are not to be underestimated. Team? He couldn't imagine Zabuza working with a team more than Haku. I'm not sure what's more surprising than that or the fact that you guys are back in Mizu. I can only say that we were approached by an offer that Zabuza-sama cannot refuse. Oh, I see. As Naruto realized there was others, how to gut the Mizukage as well. After a wave, he looked up why Zabuza became a missing nin. He tried to kill the Mizukage. And know that he was with the rebels wasn't a stretch by any means. Something like that, said Haku. I think the more interesting question is, why are you out here on your own? Come now, Haku. We both know that I'm never truly alone. As his finger twitched, as Naruto in the center suddenly twitched as well. Poor choice of words, but my point stands. You know, the standards. Civilians, scouting, collecting poison for my research. I have to ask, you know how Kira ninjas managed to keep the Ikizu fish enzyme from breaking out outside the body? Poison aren't really my specialty, but I believe it's some kind of power sheet. Said Naruto. It has been bugging him ever since he saw the toothy little fish. Okay, second question. How do you guys put up with this damn mess? You get used to it, a voice said. Far too close for Naruto comfort. And come to appreciate how easy it makes to sneak up on brats. It's good to see you as well, Zabuza. Still playing with dolls, huh? Still overcompensating with that ridiculous slab of metal you call a sword. You know, I can introduce you 2 more personally if you like. No thanks, I prefer not to get in between lovers. Nice flap jacket, Konoha giving them out as compilation prizes now. Only if the rebellion is doing the same for headbands. I wonder how much people you had to kill for that. Zabuza gave a toothy grin. It's good to see you, brat. I'm glad you didn't lose that edge of yours. Well, plenty of things to sharpen myself on lately. Great, isn't it, said Zabuza. As the 2 teens emerged from the forest behind him, they were surprised that Zabuza was just bantering with a Konoha ninja like that. They wasn't sure which one was more shocking, a casual banter from Zabuza their teammate, or whether it was with a Konoha ninja. So, I don't know if you could move this competition to somewhere more secure. As Naruto walked his dummy, pop it back over to him and seal the back of the scroll. He felt secure with Zabuza and Haku, he didn't think that they would betray him. Besides, Raimiya was waiting on the ground beneath them, ready to spring in action if anything. Good point, I'm pretty sure this place is safe, but that bastard Yagra seems to have eyes everywhere nowadays. It's almost unnatural. Okay, hold up, a white-haired teen said, as he had the legendary sword Newberry at his side. Its teeth weren't filed down though. He must be a swordsman in training. I don't get all this buddy-buddy with this tree hugger. But don't you feel like inviting him back to our camp is a bit too much? I have to agree, the other one said as he had a large bundle on his back. I know Terumi-sama would be very displeased by this. Now there was an interesting name. Terumi. Mei Terumi. She was on the list. in Konoha, as many was wondering if she was still alive. People assumed that she had some involvement in the rebellion, but they wonder how much. But the way this kid said it, the one with glasses and his spiky hair, it seems like she was some sort of a leader in all this. That information alone meant that his mission was already a success. Yeah, well, Mei ain't here, so when you're under my command, you do as I say. Got it? Said Sabusa. Teething problems with new teen to ask. Like you wouldn't believe. I miss Ninjutsu and Kushimaru. They knew when to keep their mouth closed. Come on, the longer we're standing around here, the more likely we are to run a patrol. But guys, if you ending this episode right here, if you want the next part of this or know what to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also go ahead and just check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto's Trained by the greats at a young age, and enjoy that, guys. And also over on Anime King 2, I post a brand new episode of What If Naruto Unlock a Strange Power. So go ahead and check out that and enjoy as well, guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all for your help and your support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying and talking back to all of you. So without further ado, I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace. I'm out here.